Why do I keep attracting the same type of men? How much time do I need before I move on after dating a toxic man? Is it possible for someone to be completely healed? Now, these are some of the questions that I've been receiving a lot on my DMs, which is a good thing because today I'm going to be answering these very same questions with some very insightful answers. So, karibu sana, welcome, and Merry Christmas by the way. If this is your first time here, let me just reintroduce myself. So I'm Jacinta Wangeshi, a toxic relationship coach, and I normally talk about toxic relationships among others, or maybe that's the basic at least. So in my DMs, I do get a lot of questions, mostly about relationships. And today I just wanted to come here and answer a few of those questions. The first one being, why do I keep attracting the same type of men? And remember, just like I said during the previous episode, and if you have not watched it, you need to go back and watch the 7 lessons that I wish I had learned earlier. So what I did say is that our mind knows patterns. And as I'm helping women to leave toxic relationships, I also help them to leave the relationships as well as cut out this pattern. Why it's a pattern? Normally you'll find that when a woman has dated one toxic person, then they might end up dating another man. Like the highest probability is that they will leave that relationship and end up dating another man who is equally as toxic or even worse than the other man. So you end up dating same devil. You normally say same devil, different face. Well, why is that? I'll be telling you something about it today. So, our mind knows patterns. This pattern has been there. If you are used to having the chaos in your life as a kid, because all our problems stem from childhood. I will not say all, but most of our problems, they stem from our childhood. Remember, you come into this world as a blank canvas. And from there is when you start taking the notes, mental notes here and there. And if you're a parent, let me just say this. If you're a parent, don't be so alarmed by the age of which your child can be able to actually talk, throw tantrums, and be fully in the full villain mode. Be very concerned when the kid cannot be able to talk. Why? They're observing and they're making mental notes. And the mind keeps a store. It keeps a score. So everything happening, whether you're talking, whether you're arguing with your partner, whether you're fighting, they record. They cannot say much, but they record. So later in life, some of these issues show up now, especially in our relationships. Why? Because that's the time when when you're put in such a setup again. When you're supposed to live with a man or you're supposed to live with a woman, you're coming from a different background, you have different beliefs, you came from a different setup, and they're coming in with their own beliefs. They came from a different background with a different setup. So now is when you get triggered. And what happens? You tend to recreate the very early memories that you had, some of which are subconscious, because 90% of who we are is controlled by our subconscious. I will give an example of if you drive. You'll find that there'll be times where your mind just shifts and you just start thinking about something else. You're on the road, and maybe when you start to come back now to your consciousness, you're almost even close to home. So how do you drive the whole of that journey? It's because your subconscious had taken over. You were somewhere else, but you did not get into an accident. You did not cause an accident, not even miss your way home. Even the chance you took them correctly. Why? 90% is in your brain. So if you end up dating the same pattern of men, you need to ask yourself, what happened to me? And there's a book by Oprah Winfrey and some other guy there called What Happened to Me. You need to yes, what happened to you? Because that is the defining factor of who you are as a person right now. Everything that you have recollected, your memories, it's a whole scientific thing behind you dating this person. So either what happened in your childhood that can be a huge factor to why you keep dating these toxic men over and over again. Secondly, the other most important aspect, when you walk out and leave, what do you do in between here? You might say, oh, you're told to take time out to heal. But is it really the time? They say time heal all wounds, but I'm here to say something about that. Time doesn't heal all wounds. Time makes the wounds more bearable, but the game changer here is what you do with that time. You can stay for 10 years, but when you get into a relationship again and you have not done some work in between that, the same issues that you had, they will still manifest. You will still come out. So it's in the time that you actually spend, the work that you do. This, and what does this work look like? It looks like the same thing, going back to your childhood, finding out what happened to you as a kid. It looks like knowing what are your boundaries, because abuse is enabled by lack of boundaries. Most often you'll find that everyone who is abused, they had very shaky to zero boundaries. It's about you looking into your boundaries. And most of the time you find that when you have been hurt, you get very rigid boundaries where somebody just coughs and you block them out. Somebody does one wrong thing. Remember, we are still human. We make mistakes and you're out. So for you to do this work, to set boundaries, to learn what is it about you that actually attracted you to this sort of a person, what did you lack? It still goes back to your childhood. Sometimes you might find that you're looking for something in this relationship. Every partner, everyone, actually I'm reading this book, which is written by these two psychologists, Harvey and the wife. I can't remember the name, but I think I'm going to put the book in the description. Though the title of the book is Making Marriage Simple, and talks about you always choose a partner. There's something in your partner, and if you check, all your exes have the same thing. And sometimes you might be tempted to say, oh, they're my type. Oh, my type is a toxic type. It's not that. There's something that you're looking for subconsciously. So you can imagine looking for something and you cannot see it. And that is what the work is about. Working on yourself means a lot of shadow work. What does shadow work mean? Shadow work means bringing the unknown into the known. That is all that shadow work is. It's about you recognizing maybe you missed attention or affection, and that is what you're looking, and you end up looking for it in the wrong people. It's the work is knowing what even a healthy person looks like over an unhealthy person. It's about you learning your negotiables and non-negotiables. What can you put up with? What can't you put up with? It's about you knowing your value. It's about you loving yourself so much that you're not just fascinated by when somebody brings you flowers or they tell you that they love you, but because you can be able to see the real actions over their own words. So the reason as to why you keep attracting this same toxic person, why you're not breaking this pattern, one, either your childhood, you've not made peace with your past. Two, it's in the work. You've not done the work yet. You do that work and you will see. You'll be able to, you look back, like for me, I look back and I'm always like, who was I dating back then? All these people that I used to date, they all had something in common. What was the similarity? They were very toxic and they had some similarities that I would not have seen until I had to do the work on myself. So I hope that answers you. And I'm going to move on to the very next question. Question number 2 that I have been getting a lot is, how much time do I need before I move on after dating a toxic person? Well, I think I have answered most of that in the previous question. It's not about the time. You can take 10 years, somebody else can take an year, somebody else leaves a relationship, ends up in another one. Though I'm not recommending for that. Don't do rebounding. Take time to heal. Take time to date yourself. That's how you get to. There are things that we pick up. We pick up some, they are called survival tactics. Because in every relationship, there was an unhealthiness in it and you were finding a way to cope with it. So for you to be able to go back to your factory setting, you need to go back, recognize which roles you played in making that relationship the way it was, whether it was toxic or in making the relationship fail. Take responsibility. Look at what are the things. It's normally even in dating, it's normally in what you don't like that you can actually find out what you like. and those can become your values. Like, for instance, for me, I love consistency. I look for consistency. Why? Because inconsistency triggers me a lot. So it's in through what you don't like that you get to understand what you really like. So take time before you move on to the next relationship. That one, I will tell you for a fact, you need to date yourself and you need to unlearn some of those toxic things that you pull them out, because you come out with a baggage when you're living a relationship. It might not be a physical one like kids, I don't know, a dog and what. You still carry emotional baggages. So for you to be able to minimize this, stop pulling them to the next relationship, because there's even a song that says you end up blaming me. Let's say you came into my life, you came from another relationship, you might end up blaming me for the mistakes of your ex, because you're not gotten over that. You're not done with working on the baggage that you had carried from there. Either you can talk to a therapist, either you can do coaching, but you need to date yourself and to know who you are. Like, go back to factory setting, the person who you used to be. It's difficult, it's hard, and there will still be times when you get triggered. There will still be something that your current partner will do or say that will remind you of your ex, but still get to do the work on yourself, because everyone is healing from something, everyone is carrying something. So it's not a matter of time, I can tell you that for a fact, but don't date immediately. So what is it if it's not about time? If it's not about time, it's the work. It's always the work. And I've said that even in the previous question, it's about the work that you do. And this work is you setting boundaries, good boundaries, healthy boundaries, not rigid boundaries. I've talked about you not feeling like being very skeptical. When this person does this, you read it as a red flag and you're like, bye, that is a rigid boundary. So learn about the healthy boundaries. Learn maybe about codependency, because and this is something that I will still talk about later. There's a difference between being an empath and a codependent. They're very similar but very different in that one is healthy, one is unhealthy. Being a codependent enables you, it's actually an enabler's sort of character. You enable your abusive partner to actually be abusive, whether he's a drunkard, you're enabling it. It's a whole lot. It's just you doing the shadow work. It's just you also identifying who are you, what do you look for, what are your boundaries, what are your values, who you are as a person, so that you can be able to know what am I attracting. It's, if you're a woman, it's you leaning back, being in your feminine energy for you to be able to attract that masculine man, because most of the time we feel like toxic men are masculine. We normally look for masculinity in toxicity. It's normally very close but very different, and I will explain that in maybe another thing, in another session. But you just understanding what you're dealing with, you understanding who you are as a person, that is a huge difference between you who decides to do the work and somebody who just sits back and is like, I feel like, and I've met so many women tell me that, I feel like I'm so scared of going back into another relationship, or I decided let me just raise up my kids, or somebody says like, I feel like relationships are not meant for me. Well, there is some sort of truth in that, but if you as a person feel like you'd want to get back into a relationship and date again, please do the work on yourself. And then from there, how now we can start talking about, how do I know whether I'm now ready to get back to date? There will be women out there who will be feeling like, I'm not ready to dress up again, look good, smell good, just to go out on a date. If that's not you, dress up, get ready, and start dating. Another way that you can tell that you're now ready to date is, you normally get this intuition or this feeling, and even when you're able to identify who is healthy and who is unhealthy. If you cannot be able to distinguish that, then my friend, you still have work to do. The other way is, can you check of whether you attach too quickly? What do we mean by that? It's called premature attachment. Whether you look at a person during the first date, you're the person already thinking of where you're going to get married, whether it's a church wedding or a garden wedding. Are you thinking of who's going to even bake the cake? Are you thinking of your lives together? And this is the first date. My friend, take time, because premature attachment will lead you to just pick the very first available person, and most of the time they might not even be healthy. So I'm hoping that I have answered it. It is not in the time frame. It's not about the time period. It's about the work that you do in between. And even about the time, please don't leave a relationship today and hop on to the next one tomorrow. Take a breather, take a break, take time to date yourself, take time to unlearn, and you can even get some help. You can talk to a coach, you can talk to a therapist, trusted person. Just don't give it a time frame. So that is the answer that I will give for my question number 2. And on to the question number 3 that I have been receiving. Is it possible for a person to be completely healed? Well, there are 2 responses to this. I can give both a yes and a no. Honestly, that's the answer to this, according to me. Why do I give a yes? A yes in terms of you heal, you learn, you know that you're healed when you no longer repeat the same mistakes. What do I mean by that? Let's say you are struggling with alcoholism or just alcohol. So today you decide, I'm going to get into that club and even order that alcohol the way I was used to. Does that make you, is that progress or not? It's progress. Let me tell you, healing journey, any progress is not linear. It's not a straight line. It means today you get into that club, drink a bottle, even go and sleep on the trenches outside. It can look like today you even walk into that club and decide I'm not going to drink. It can look like tomorrow you're deciding I'm not even going to walk into that club. It can look like tomorrow my friends still insist and I end up getting to that club and drinking even more than I have ever drank. It's still part of recovery. But then what happens? In your mind, you're feeling the guilt. You're starting to ask yourself, you're starting to see it and actually want to be better some more and more. So in the very same way, you can get healed by you recognizing the patterns. When you start noticing, like, hey, when somebody gaslights you, no, that's not right. That's a red flag. When somebody just shows up and then they're telling you things and they're love bombing you, it's day 1, but then somebody already is telling you about the number of kids that they want you to have, the ring that you'd want, they're telling you all these things, it's day 1. Then you're able to ask yourself, why are they trying so hard to get me into this space when before we follow the steps? So it's about you. When the minute that you start recognizing this, then my friend, you're being able to actually rewire your brain the way it was thinking, because there are some things that we do without even thinking twice. Like the way my phone will ring and I will just think of, let me pick it up and talk. But then the minute that you find yourself questioning yourself, should I pick this or should I not? You're on the healing journey and you're almost there. So that is why I'd say yes. When you're not making the very same mistakes, yes, you're healed. And then there is still a no. Why do I say a no? Because you still keep getting triggered. The same things that used to trigger you, I will give an example. My ex was very abusive. So does that mean that simply because I'm healed that I will never get triggered? Of course I will. If I get another partner who one day even they don't mean what, that they're almost hitting me, but then they actually try and recreate this very same scenario, my mind, my whole body, my everything might go back to the same scenario. Does it mean that I'm not healed? No, I am, but I still react. I still feel triggered. So it depends on how you take this. There's no yes or no answer to this. It's a matter of you being able to identify it, identify the cause, see things even before they happen, and not the hypervigilance type of way, just being able to see things on a healthy way, like being able to spot who is healthy and who is unhealthy, and you actually being able, despite the triggers coming up, you're able to ground yourself. I don't behave the very same way how I used to behave. I'm no longer going to be burning anyone's clothes or showing up at somebody's office because I'm triggered. You are now better. And you now know better. So that I'm hoping that I have actually answered your questions. And if you have more questions, this is just a tidbit of the whole iceberg. I will still be answering more questions as they come in because I see them. You send me the DMs and I really appreciate it. You comment and I appreciate it. if you have any more questions, please, please, please feel free to still continue commenting here, DMing me, whichever way. And remember, you can DM me on my socials. On all my social medias, I'm Jacinta Wangeshi. That is Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. You can DM me anywhere, even or comment down on this video. Ask me any question that you may want me to actually address. And I'll be grateful and I'll be thankful if you subscribe, if you're new here, and if you share this post with somebody that you know actually needs this. Actually, the more you share it, the more it's able to reach more people, the more I'm able to inspire and even talk to someone who really needs this information. So I'm really going to be grateful for this. It's Christmas season. It's the period for giving, for sharing. So how about you just share this video with someone, whether it's on your socials, on your WhatsApp. Share this video with someone. Make someone know something that you didn't know, or they didn't know actually. So until next time, asante sana. Have a nice time and enjoy your Christmas. Bye.